This edition of MacVoices is supported by Smile, the makers of PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. PDF editing for your Mac, iPhone, and iPad. Learn more at smilesoftware.com. Welcome to MacVoices Live. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we are live on Facebook tonight, and as always, you can join us in the Zoom room if you wish. I'll be posting the information to the MacVoices live chat in a second, so you'll have that information if you want to, or just hang out in the chat and throw questions our way, and we will either answer them or ignore them. Just depends on what you ask us. Tonight, we have a featured guest that, well, he has to cut out a little early because he has to go get prepared for the presidential debates. I think he's asking questions tonight. Mr. Peter Cohen. Peter, welcome. It's great to see you.
Nice to see you.
I really appreciate you coming on. I know it's kind of a busy time, but seriously, I really appreciate it.
It's been way too long, Chuck, and I'm really delighted. And hello, everyone.
Yes.
Hello, Peter.
Is also joining us, and I'll just run around the table here, Mr. Mark Fuccio. Mark, thanks for being here.
Hi, Chuck. Thanks for the invitation.
Yep. David Ginsburg is back. David?
How you doing? Great to be here.
Good. That's your cue, David. Come on.
I got it. I was waiting for you.
Yeah, and Mr. Jeff Gammon is here as well.
And I'm happy to be here. It's great to see everyone, and especially Peter, because it has been way too long.
Indeed.
It is. So, Peter, you've stepped back a little bit from the tech reporting business, but I have this funny feeling that you probably still pay a little bit of attention to it.
Man, yeah, it's like The Godfather Part 3, right? Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. There's always something to keep me interested, and whether it's Apple Watch Series 3 devices not being able to be updated to watchOS 7 without a complete reset, or the Epic versus Apple battle, I find myself just tipping back into it all the time, because there's always something fun to talk about, on MacVoices and elsewhere.
Well, that's why we wanted you here, without question. So, first of all, I want to point out to folks that if they follow you on social media, I have determined that you're a bit of a philosopher, of a kind of a different stripe. But your commentary, tech or not, is very, very thought provoking. A lot of times, it's like, where did that come from right now? But I love the way that you bring up something and then pronounce judgment on it.
So, give me an example, Chuck.
Oh shoot!
Since we're talking about me.
Yeah. Shoot, I just looked at one today and I can't remember now what it was. But
I believe I have an example.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
So, Peter, a day or two ago, you were talking about how people going off on whatever their belief or reaction to something political is, and you said, "Hey, don't bother, because your diatribe is not going to change someone's opinion."
Yeah,
and of course, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing about it, and I'm as guilty of this as anyone. So believe me, when I say stuff like this, a lot of times I'm just kind of like ruminating on, boy, I wish I would act more mindfully in these circumstances. And this is sort of a reminder to me, and this certainly was, right? And it was about Trump's tax info on the New York Times. And what I said was, look, you're not going to change anybody's mind, right? Because first of all, you're talking to an echo chamber. Most of the people, most of your audience, whether you're a public figure or not, on social media, you've got an audience. And most of your audience are people who are aligned with you philosophically, socially, politically, whatever, or not. So you're either talking to an echo chamber, or you're talking to people who are not really interested in what you have to say. Either way, you're just kind of spinning your wheels. So go easy on it. And, Alexander Von Below on Twitter and Facebook, I thought brought up a great point. He made this point separately, and he said to me, I do it as kind of a sanity check. because so much weird stuff is going on that I feel like I have to let people know that I'm noticing this stuff and that it's not okay. And you know what? I think that's a really good point. And I wish more people sort of approached it with that sort of mindful intent. There's a good thing about, waking up every day and saying, no, this isn't normal. I want you to know that it's not normal. It's not normal to me. The problem is, I think all of us kind of get caught in this loop where we just have to get angry. And the angrier we get, the more we talk, the more money Facebook and Twitter's ad sales departments make. I'm not saying don't shut up. I'm not saying shut up and don't talk on Twitter. All I'm saying is that conflict sells on social media. Remember that. Remember that when you're feeding the internet outrage machine, you are making money for Twitter and Facebook because they're making money on ad impressions that are being sold when people start clicking on links. So just remember that. Just be mindful of it and try not to feed the beast any more than you really have to. There's nothing wrong with it expressing an opinion. There's nothing wrong with having a spirited debate with somebody online. But at some point or another, you have to recognize that you're doing it for your own catharsis, as opposed to actually trying to have any constructive or meaningful interaction in the world. You know what I'm saying? We all got to get off our computers and actually do stuff at the end of the day if we want to make a meaningful difference in this world. We can't just be keyboard commandos and complain endlessly and expect things to get better. They're not.
And that
Here,
is
here.
why
I agree.
And that's why you should follow Peter Cohen on Twitter or Facebook and get gems like that. Yes.
Thank you for letting me rant. But yeah, that was my latest screed.
Yeah. No, it's a good example. And, and of course, we're not here to talk politics. That's not it. But it was a perfect example. So thank you for coming up with it, Jeff. So, Peter, I'm going to start and then everybody else can jump in. So I wanted to get your take on the and I'm going to do my best to stay neutral as long as I can. The Coalition for App Fairness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I tweeted some stuff out. I think negative about those guys. I mean, here verbally we have more time, so I think Spotify. They're horrible. They just wanted a free ride. Epic is the same. A lot of the others, I think maybe they saw, hey, this is an opportunity to get known because we're, no one knows us. So, I think it's more of an attention-getting stunt. Maybe Apple might change or ameliorate some of their policies, but
they already have. I mean, Apple has already said, look, we'll let Fortnite back onto the store, but Epic's not willing, to accept Apple's agreement. And Apple's already said that it's going to let Xbox or Microsoft's Xbox streaming service work on the platform. So look, Apple
did they? That's news to me. That Apple came out.
Wasn't that just the other day?
But I thought they said that they were letting it on, but each game had to be reviewed independently.
Yeah, but that's keeping consistent with Apple's policy, and I think that's perfectly fair under the circumstances.
Yes, okay.
Apple's whole issue with streaming content, and this is separate from Epic Games, obviously, but Apple's whole issue with streaming games content is we have no effective way of making sure that a parent who's got good parental controls on their Mac or on their iPad or on their phone or on their child's device, that streaming service is going to function in accordance with that. I think that's a perfectly valid complaint. I think it's also kind of an orthogonal discussion for Apple to be having, and I'm sure it is happening with Apple, Microsoft, Google, Sony, and anybody who's got their feet right now in the game streaming space. It's funny. When I was working for Macworld, I haven't worked for Macworld now for over a decade. When I was working at Macworld, I was talking to companies that were doing game streaming, like OnLive, for example. So this is not a new idea. This is a concept that has been around in the marketplace for a number of years. And Apple wants to have some control over it, so they are providing that control to their users. They don't want an uncontrolled user experience. That's the core of what Apple's complaint is. It's keeping about money, sure, yeah. Apple wants to dip its beak in it, just like everyone else. But Apple also has a moral consistency to maintain here when it comes to the safety of their users. And that's the part that I think kind of gets lost in the trees. This coalition for app fairness, this is just a money grab. And you know what? The judge hearing this case with Epic sees right through it too. It's patently obvious from the transcript that I read of the court stuff that they that Epic does not have a very well-founded legal argument here.
I have to admit, when I pulled the website up, I was a little shocked because I thought that this was a lot broader-based grassroots kind of thing in the first place. In the second place, I thought it was more advocating for some of the things that we've talked about before on the show for all developers. And what I see is a hit website on Apple. I mean, it just beats the daylights out of Apple. Apple is the big bad, and they're charging too much, and they're not letting us do what we want. And then I look at the members of the coalition, and I think, holy cow! I don't see too many major developers in there, at least not what I would consider major developers. And second, I see a lot of big money people. Spotify is not small. Epic is not small. I'm not quite sure how large Proton Mail is. Basecamp is not small. Blockchain, I don't think, is not small. And so, we're not going to go through all of them because we don't have the time. But if you look at them, it feels like almost each one of them. Maybe there are a couple I'm not quite sure, but each one of them kind of have an axe to grind with Apple, of one kind or another, and it's all money or potential competition.
Yeah, I mean, some of their claims are understandable, but most of the stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah, Mark, I know you got to go soon, so I want to give you a quick last word before you have to go.
Yeah, I think what I was going to say about that was, people may not like it, but they go into it open-eyed. They know what the rules are, and they can change their business model. If they make it a subscription base, they can pay 15% the second year. I think I said here, a month or two ago that I think Apple is miscommunicating, their program. It's sort of like, come in our store and it's 15%. The first year start cost is higher, so it's 30% for 1 year. No one, I don't think, but somebody out there will prove this wrong. That 15%, commission, for everything that Apple offers is a very good bargain. 30%, maybe it's high, maybe it's not. But if you don't like it, just sell exclusively on Android.
Oh, and pay 30%.
Or not at all.
So I mean, you're paying 30% to
industry
whomever.
standard.
Yeah, that's bog standard for anybody. So I mean, the 30% thing is just that's a complete farce.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, 30% predates the App Store. That's just been the standard cut that services have taken for years and years and years.
Well,
and by the way, I want to point out, you talk to any software publisher who remembers actually putting brick and mortar or copies of stuff back in the day, they would be grateful to pay only 30%.
Yes, exactly. And that's what people forget. That's why in today's, I think it was today's episode of Ken Ray's In a Few Minutes show, he had Mike LaPlante as a guest. And I think Mike pointed out that one of Jobs' innovation when they first launched the iPhone App Store was that, and it's only 30% instead of the 60 or more percent that telephone carriers were extorting from developers back, in the good old days before the iPhone. So at that point, Apple was a hero because 30% was low, and well, now it's 12 or 13 years later, and these companies have grown bigger, and I agree with Peter. It's just a money grab.
Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Smile, the makers of world-class software. If you haven't noticed, Smile has made a number of upgrades to PDFpen recently, making it even more useful. Things like the ability to add page labels in multiple formats for documents, new stationery options to customize your page designs, a new magnifier window that lets you zoom up to 2,000%, and something that everyone has run into at one time or another: Now you can optimize your PDF file size as much as you need, tweaking color, grayscale, or monochrome images, and even remove third-party metadata, all to save size, so your file can be emailed or archived while retaining quality. Those and a few hundred other features are all standard in PDF Pen. PDF Pen Pro adds even more, including the ability to use DocuSign to send documents easily and securely. The new versions of PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro work with PDF Pen for iPhone and iPad, allowing seamless editing across devices when used with Dropbox or iCloud, so you can work wherever, whenever, and on whatever device you wish. Get all the details at smilesoftware.com/podcast. That's smilesoftware.com/podcast, the makers of world-class software like PDF Pen and PDF Pen Pro. Thanks to Smile for their ongoing support of MacVoices. Yeah. Mark, I'm not throwing you out. Stick around as long as you want. I just watching the clock and I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you for stopping by as always.
Okay, so our clocks must be out of sync because mine says 1 more minute to go. But with that,
you don't have to go home. But wait a minute, you are.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's that whole light speed time dilation thing that is messing us up.
Well, the signal does have to go to space and back. So
True.
Yeah. Right. So I think with that, and now the alarm is going. Okay, so David, Chuck, Peter, and Jeff, good chatting with you, and I'll catch part 2 of this on the interwebs in a couple of days.
Great to see you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks.
Talk to you soon, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Jeff, I think you already gave us part of your take, but I'm anxious to hear your thoughts, and I will tip my hand because anytime I've ever heard from college days on, anytime I hear coalition and fairness, I just know it's off the rails. You can put anything in the middle there, but it just always feels like it's off the rails, and this one's no exception.
Well, one thing that I've seen people saying about this coalition is that, oh, come on, they're just coming in with an agenda. Yes, that's true, and that's absolutely fair to say. The thing that I think people need to pay attention to is anytime anyone has something that they want to accomplish, they have an agenda. So what you really need to look at is what is the intent? And I think in this case, the intent is not altruistic. And especially when you look at some of the names that are part of this organization, that this is, it looks to me like a group of developers that have decided that they no longer want to play by the rules that they have already agreed to play by. And so now they're crying foul and they want to take their ball and go home. But instead of actually going home, what they want to do is take, in this case, Apple's ball and hold on to it. And this analogy is starting to go off the rails for me. But
I heard it going.
Yeah.
Watching Jeff walk the tightrope.
Yeah.
I know. I was sort of like an observer as well, thinking, man, I can't wait to see where this is. But to try and pull it back on the rails, this is, I think, a case where we have several companies that are trying to present something that they want and make it palatable to other people. And you know what? I really have a problem with this organization.
Yeah. You cut right to the bottom line there.
Yeah.
David, I want you in here, but first I want to welcome Brittany Smith to the panel. Thank you, Brittany.
Hey.
Good to see you. You show up every time with a different background and a different mic cover.
Different mic? Yeah.
Yeah. What is that?
Been
thing?
experimenting.
Okay. Well, you're allowed. I like this. Sounds good. This sounds good. And I don't know. Do you know Peter Cohen? Our friend Peter Cohen? That's
hi.
Brittany.
Online, yes. Hi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey.
Okay. So you guys know each other. David, jump in here. What are your thoughts on the coalition?
Yeah, I mean, I think really, if anything, Epic has antagonized this whole thing. We wouldn't be talking about this if Epic didn't start it. So to have all these other developers gang up and decide, hey, we want to really push hard against Apple. It just really is where I'm seeing, where that goes. I really just short comments on. I just don't see why this needs to happen. I mean, like you guys said, 30%'s been the standard forever. I mean, what, where else can we go with this? But everybody's got to go gang up on Apple, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, and of course, one of the other big things that seems to be asked is that, at least for Epic, I won't quite speak for some of the others, but that they want to be able to set up their own app store within Apple's App Store.
Right.
And I'm kind of, the more I thought about that, the more I thought, well, gee, what is it that they want to sell that they can't already sell? I mean, because I know that there are plenty of add-ons to different programs that are sold in the App Store. So just put it out there, list it, and go. What's, other than the fact
money.
that
Yeah, that's what it is.
I mean, that's it. There's nothing technologically preventing them from offering the sort of purchases that they want to offer. The only difference is that if they can set up their own app store within Apple's App Store, they have now punched a hole through Apple's walled garden where they control the entire revenue stream.
And potentially, depending on how it's done, obviously, but I would think also potentially the security.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, Brittany, in case we'll catch you up. We're talking about the Coalition for App Fairness. Right? You figured that out by now. Yeah, yeah.
Now, is that the one with Bizarro and Lex Luthor, or is that?
No, this is one that has Deadshot and Reverse Flash.
Oh, okay.
I would say it's the Sinister Six, but they're more than six. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So what's 13? So
that's a lucky number.
Yeah. Good point, Peter. I hadn't thought about that.
They should just kick someone out.
Yeah. Any thoughts from your perspective that you haven't heard us already alliterate?
How far is it safe to roll my eyes?
If you roll them too far, your retinas will detach.
Yeah. They want to be careful about that. I like them where they are. I mean, as somebody who helps people with their tech, I can't tell you how much I don't want alternatives to the App Store, because suddenly that'll be the place to develop everything. And there's nothing I can say that's like, no, use this app, but like only this one you can install from the other store. But the other ones try to do wait, they added features that aren't allowed in the walled garden. So now all of a sudden the people that I support are doing all of these unsafe things and don't know the difference between one and another. And it sounds like a headache for me personally. Is that selfish?
No, I think that's a really interesting perspective on it. That, that this could potentially lead to confusion about where you can buy what if you're concerned about security and privacy.
And a lot of the issues previously with walled garden and iOS, they have not all been addressed, but they are being addressed like on an ongoing basis. I mean, at a certain point, I got workflow and now it's shortcuts and it can do more. And because that's what I care about is automating. And so personally, like as things go along, the walls that are annoying are being dealt with, but dealt with securely. And I like that. And I like learning the two platforms learning from each other that way.
Peter, I know you and I have had some conversations about jailbreaking before.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is there? I'm not sure that I'm not exactly sure how I want to ask it or where I want to go with this, but it feels like some of this non App Store stuff has a jailbreak kind of feel to it. That you would be exposing potential.
Well, right. I mean, let's look at the reason why the walled garden exists, right? The walled garden, I mean, some folks would like you to think that the walled garden is all about Apple keeping, the revenue inside of its own tent. But really the reason why Apple created the environment that it did is because it didn't want the same thing to happen to the iPhone that was already happening to other smartphones at the time, which was that they were being compromised security-wise, that people were sideloading or loading software that didn't belong on there, that people were using, the people were exploiting security issues to do bad things. They wanted to avoid all that, and they were able to really effectively do it. And look, the thing that I say to people who, wave their, Linux handhelds or handsets in the air is I would much rather be in a walled garden than an open sewer any day of the week.
That's great. I like that.
Let's get a T-shirt with that on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. That really is. But you know what? Even if it is, even if the reason that is that Apple wanted to keep all the revenue inside, so what?
Yeah, I know. Look, I'm not an Apple advocate, right? I don't have stock in the company. If Apple goes out of business tomorrow, my life would suck, but I would get over it. I'm not interested in advocating for Apple, and Apple's, the biggest tech company in the world. It can advocate for itself. What I'm interested in at the end of the day is my own use, and the use of the people who I have to help and support. And for as long as the App Store provides a better solution for that than the alternative, I'm sticking with the App Store. I couldn't do that on a Mac, right? The Mac App Store is garbage compared to just being able to download stuff for the Mac or for Windows PCs, whatever. It's nice to have an open platform somewhere in the Apple hierarchy where I can actually do whatever the heck I want to, not just what Apple will allow me to do. But as Brittany points out, the Apple has come a long way since the App Store was first created. They're a lot less draconian than they used to be. They've opened up a lot of new functionality, a lot of new APIs. I mean, if you threw iOS 14 in front of somebody who was only familiar with like iOS 6, their mind would be blown, with the customizability of the interface.
Where did their skeuomorphism go?
Right, exactly. Where's my pool table? Oh my God. Green felt. I need more green felt. Look, I think at the end of the day, we all make our decision as consumers about the products that we're going to go with based on our individual needs. And Android and Google and Apple have been waging this war now for the last 10 years of just trying to get people to lock into their systems. And look, I've spent thousands over the years in apps and tools that I don't want to have to rebuy. It's crazy. Once you get over that inertia, or once you get sort of stuck behind that inertia, you never want to leave the app store that you're used to. But what's the alternative? For me to completely open up the iPhone and then all of a sudden I start getting malware or start having real serious problems that Apple itself can't fix. That's where the whole thing kind of falls apart for me. The App Store provides Apple and Apple's users with a degree of regulation that lets us be comfortable just seeing an app on the App Store or seeing a link to an app, knowing that it's in the App Store, being able to tap on it and say, okay, I'll give it a try. I'll download it. I'll see what it's all about. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. Oh, wait, it's going to cost me $10? No, I'm not going to download it. I'm going to get something else for free. Even within that, though, the way that Apple set up subscriptions and so forth, there are app developers who continue to exploit and take advantage of it. So no system is perfect, and Apple's is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So in a long roundabout way, what I'm saying is let Apple continue to improve it and let these criticisms where they have validity not necessarily force Apple, but nudge Apple in the direction of doing the right thing for its customers and for its developers and for the entire industry. I see that happening with this Epic fight. I'm sorry that it's as public as it is. I think because it's games specifically, you tend to get very polarized opinions on the subject. both in and out of both in tech journalism that's reporting on it, and in the discussions around that journalism that's being reported. And I think that that's the most unfortunate part of that, because I think when we all take a step back, we can see this from 30,000 feet from both sides and understand that, Epic, Spotify, okay, you don't have 100% of not everything that you're saying is justifiable, or it's pretty clear that a lot of this is a transparent money grab, but maybe Apple can be doing a better job, and maybe they should be. That's where this discussion should be going, and hopefully it'll come back to it. But I don't see now that the trial, or the now that it's going to go before a jury, this is going to get dragged out for quite some time.
Our featured guest, Peter Cohen, and the whole panel will be back in the next edition of Mac Voices to talk more about all the anti-Apple forces and anti-Apple sentiment that is out there right now, what it might mean to you as an end user, and why some of it is just simply, in our opinion, not legitimate. That's next time on Mac Voices. I hope you'll join us. Until then, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.